Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're looking at the RDF Excaliber Mark 6 destroid, otherwise known as the Tomahawk MBR 4. Now, I'm not only going to cover it in this regard as a Battletech slash Macross mecha, I'm going to cover it as the Warhammer 6R. So it's going to be a little bit longer video. If for all of us older fans of the BattleTech and the Robotech franchises, hopefully I'm capturing everything for you. If it's just one of those things, hopefully it's something you enjoy. Uh, with that being said, let's kind of get into this. So let's look at it as what we have here. Let's get into our write up here for that our author, because this is the same author that had done the Robotech in the D6 that I had covered last week. We're going to continue on with this, and we're going to cover some of the mecha that correspond with this from Battletech. I figured it's a great way to transition, and if or when we get into when, I'm sure it's going to be a when, not a if. We're going to get into this in a Robotech fashion, starting off with what we have here or for Battletech, starting off with what we have here in Robotech, which I think still works very well. There's going to be some slight differences. We'll point this all out a little later. All right, so in our description, Robotech the Excaliber is a non-transformable mecha walker used as an assault and defense heavy weapons system aboard the SDF-1 and on Earth. In many respects, it is a mix of heavy artillery support and frontline combat unit, with both long and short range armaments. Without a doubt, this mecha's array of weapons outstrips any of its kind, often deployed as a companion to the MkVI to protect it from close range assaults, armed with two gun clusters like the one built into the Gladiator, machine guns, particle beam cannons, and battery of missiles. The Excaliber may be best thought of as a walking dreadnought. Its main disadvantage is that it lacks any hands, making grasping, holding, or any articulated work impossible. This also limits the effectiveness in hand to hand combat. Another drawback is its slow speed, especially when compared to the Veritech fighter or the Zentradi battle pods or other craft. Since the Zentradi assault on Earth, the Excaliber Mark 6 has become a major tool in the peacekeeping efforts with or while society tries to rebuild itself. It's an ideal unit for suppressing major uprisings, renegade Zentradi attacks, law enforcement, recon, and patrols in desolate areas. In Robotech slash Macross, these and other destroids can be seen many times walking the hull of the SDF-1, uh, as well as Macross, um, fighting off battle pods and other attackers and defending the ship in other various roles. They should be counted as having some high or some kind of magnetic clamps on their feet. In this case, in capital ship defense, they make excellent mobile turret weapon platforms. Macross. The first of the MBR 04 series destroids, the Tomahawk Mark 1, entered service in February of '07. Conceived as a non variable combat robot designed to counter giant sized infantry, the Tomahawk was built by using over technology hidden, researched, or technology taken, researched from the crash of the alien spacecraft known as the SDF 1 Macross in 1999. Once successfully tested, the Tomahawk became the basis for three other destroid types, and the improved Tomahawk Mark 6 quickly followed in late 2007. The Tomahawk Mark 6 is the most heavily armed destroid of the MBR 04 series and is the most likely deployable or most widely deployed model Of the nearly 600 destroids aboard the SDF-1 Macross in February of 2009, over 500 were Tomahawk Mark 6 units armed with a wide array of weaponry suited to nearly any combat operation. The Tomahawk features particle cannons, missiles, machine guns, lasers, flamethrowers, um, to unreleased fire to unleash. Fire in any role from anti-personnel to anti-aircraft. The Mark 6 version also featured a retractable periscope and includes the option of mounting searchlight/missile packs in one or both mounts on either side of the top weapons base. For Star Wars, role-playing game has several scales for combat purposes. In this case, Walker scale. In Robotech/Macross, these would probably be considered something closer to the Starfighter scale. But in Star Wars, Walker scale seems more appropriate considering how they work and fight. In the animated series, the destroids would almost always be seen taking the brunt of any offensive and being blown to hell, but also giving it right back. This could be shown in the Walker scale versus flying starfighters as they walk around the hull defending the main ship, and also as they carry weaponry that can still harm a starfighter, as well as some starfighter scale missiles and or warheads. For placement in the Star Wars universe, considered the Walkers utilizing the Galactic Empire. They have they have them, but the rebellion never really did, relying on skill and cunning to get the job done. While the Empire uses fear and virtual force, um, however, it is a very big galaxy, and not all pockets of rebels would fight the same, and some may have access to resources, if not manpower. They could have built walkers to make up for that lack of manpower, giving one single pilot the fighting power to or of an entire large-scale fighting unit of soldiers and an arsenal to match, able to fight the Empire with devastating force, even against the AT-ATs. If these had been available on Hoth during the Imperial invasion of that base, the ground battle may have gone differently against the Empire. Or if the Empire had been the ones developing these walkers for further development of walkers in grand assault roles and to make their already impressive forces that much stronger. With this in mind, the rebels may wish to get their hands on these units for their own. All right, so let's go and take a look and see what we have here. Okay, so looking at how we have everything, this is um, a non-transformable Battleoid mecha at Walker scale. Now, the height is 36 feet, or roughly about 11.27 meters, has a length of 16 feet and a width of 30, or a weight of 31 tons. That is in Macross or Robotech. And we'll talk about it when we get into Battletech here shortly. So, has a crew of one or two. Now, the difference here really kind of comes into how we look at the head. Okay, so right here, if you're looking at this, there's a green shield. That's kind of where the head is, but we have machine guns and all that, and then there's like another rider uh, seat back here, right behind some of that. So there is the possibility of having two people in there in the Robotech franchise. Um, of course, this is going to be your walker operation, vehicle blasters, missile weapons, heavy weapons, kind of like that in order to operate this. Uh, Whenever I start looking at everything being on a vehicle, I look at it as vehicle weapons, kind of whatever skills. We have a 40 kilogram cargo capacity, which is something that I've used quite often in mine, throwing it out there. It has full coverage. There's no cost listed as far as this goes. And then we have a move of 50 miles an hour or 88 kilometers an hour. which I do want to kind of look here. All right. No, has a body strength of 60 plus one. Keep this in mind. I would, if we're going to use this as a basis for BattleTech later on, I would keep that. Okay. Going through this, why don't we just kind of cover this all hand in hand here? If this is BattleTech, instead of being 31 tons, we're looking at 70 metric tons. Okay. And I want to point this out as we look at the weight of this stuff. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't be 31 tons. I'm not saying it couldn't be 70 tons. 31 tons might be it, just without all the ammo and everything else. There's a possibility that I think jumping it up almost another 40 tons would be a little exaggerating, though. Um, your standard U.S. Diesel locomotive, diesel electric locomotive. From my understanding, these are about 100 metric tons, and they're going on our railway. So when we're looking at the size of these, keep that in mind. These are about 3 to 5 stories tall, being 36 feet. That's three, maybe four stories tall. Okay, thereabouts. So it's about middle of the road. Okay, and I think that's probably about the same as what we would find it here in BattleTech. Just kind of looking at this, uh, and yes, we're going to have a crew of one or two. Um, no other passengers. Typically, if it's a crew of two, your second person in a BattleTech sense, and probably more likely in your Robotech as well, that might be your field commander. All right, so keep that in mind. They're not really aiming and all that. These are really meant for one person to operate everything. And if you notice, they have a helmet on, especially in BattleTech early on. The writers that FASA had gotten, and I'm taking this from FASA, they had wonderful writers. Michael Stackpole and many others had done a great job of explaining the helmet that you put on would also get some brainwave activity going on that, so it would help you self-write. Having the droid and what we can do today, the fact that we are making robots that can stand on their own, they can think on their own. To have something like that also connected into you to help this walk, I think is very feasible. I think we are very much on our way to being able to have stuff like this. So that's very fascinating to me, growing up with this always being science fiction. So I'm throwing that out there. Okay. Um, let's see. So this has got a move of about 50 miles per hour or 88 kilometers an hour. In Battletech, it has a cruising speed of 43 kilometers an hour and a maximum speed of 64.8 kilometers an hour. Um, so in Battletech, it is running a little bit slower than it is here with Robotech. Uh, Battletech has got a fusion engine. Robotech is using oh sugar. Now my mind is suddenly gone. Was it proto? I want to say proto matter, but that's not it. Anyways, you get the idea. There is a difference in how they are fueling these. Okay, whether you consider that as how it differs or whatever. However, okay. Now, the body strength. I like how the body strength is here that our author had originally done. I think he's got a very good encompassing view of what it should be, and I agree with him on that. Now, we do have two 12.7 millimeter machine guns. Here it's just machine guns for Battletech. These are at the top of the head. So, right above our little view screen, it's got our machine guns on here. It's got two of them. Fire control is 1D. Damage is 1D for a short burst, 2D for a long burst, and 4D for a full round burst. These are, it's not listed as to what scale. Now, this is the big issue. I would then keep it at Walker scale. Okay. Um, and it's got the same, it's got the two machine guns listed here as well. So I would say that that would still be there. Okay, if you're taking it for the BattleTech version of this. Now we'll get into a little bit of my thought after this, and we'll just get through the stats. We also have two TZ4 gun clusters. It's a laser 32 millimeter cannon, auto cannon, 180 millimeter grenade launcher, flamethrower, Firelink is optional. So we're going to kind of go through all this stuff. To me, this is going to be our probably medium lasers and small lasers. Okay, uh, you know, Luce had drawn both of these. Too bad he doesn't have his name on here. It's probably just off because this is almost the same, except I'm looking at a black and white, and this leg here, our left leg is not tilted, but it is drawn by Luce and is more of the quick sketch work art. But everything else is almost identical. This is a little different for his kind of targeting node here or whatever. Okay, this would be our targeting site computer network, and he's got that in there, as well as everything else. Our red downward triangles are still drawn in there. They're slightly different, but they're still there. It's all done so very much alike, which is why they got into legal troubles through having the kite, which I don't see on this one, but it was on the Phoenix Hawk, which is the Super Veritech fighter. Um, Okay, so we're going to have a fire control of 2D for these damage. It's a 2D for the laser, 2D short burst, 4D long burst, 60 full round for the 32 millimeter autocannon. Has a 4D 180 millimeter grenade launcher damage, 60 damage for the speeder scale flamethrower, and ammo for the lasers unlimited, 240 rounds for the 32 millimeter autocannon, 50 rounds for the grenade launcher, and 50 blasts for the flamethrower. That's a lot of stuff going on. Now, in the Battletech, we have a light laser and a small laser and a medium laser there. Um, what we would have to do is we would have to come up with what our weapon damages are, which isn't too hard to do. And I might try and do that as a Saturday video. I might try and go through and just knock that out if we want to try and take Battletech stuff and just put it in. I'll grab from the 3025 and try and just kind of do something that balances. I may not be exactly off of this, but I'll try and get as close as I can. So hopefully we can get this all to work. Okay. Don't quote me on this, but I'm going to try as best I can. Um, we have two missile pods. So this would be our left and right of the cockpit. Location on the shoulders. Has a fire control of 3D. And this is going to be all dependent upon whatever type missiles we're using. Everything from explosives, tear gas, knockout gas, fire retardant for fighting fires, all that stuff. Um, Typical combat load uses plasma, napalm, smoke, knockout gas, otherwise, remainder of whatever. Now, typically, most of our missiles are going to be 8D. There is slight differences. He does have, the author had done a big write up of all the different missiles here on rpggamer.org. Um, I'm not going to try, I don't think I'm going to get into all of this. Um, just, it's there if you want to look it up. By all means, I really love what all the different authors, I don't know if it's one or multiple or whatever. It is a huge labor of love, whoever this author is, that they have done all this. I will be sad the day ever comes that this is all gone. So it's just, it is that important to me as someone that plays the D6 universe. So we also have a heavy missile pod. Again, this is going to be the same types of missiles. Fire control is 3D. Whatever you're putting on your left and right, I would say maybe one or up it a little bit more for your smaller missile pod. That is this top one above your right shoulder. Okay, now comes the big guns. We have 4 missile pods, short range. These are in the legs. 3D for fire control. These are 12. Ammo is 12, 3 per pod, 6 per leg. Okay. Um, the large one was only 6 rounds, and then the top one was 24, 12 in each pod. Okay. Our big cannons are particle beam cannons. These are PPC cannons in our Battletech particle projection cannons. Let's see, we have fire control is 2D, damage is 70, 8D if they're fire linked. I agree with that. So I think what I might try and do is might try and make our PPC cannons a 7D. All right. Now rate of fire is 4 max, 3 per combat rounds, then overheats. Heat is a huge thing in Battletech. All those that play Battletech and know about it and all that fun stuff, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Trying to have heat sinks and all that stuff. It was always a big balancing act for everyone here. Now, um, to have a limit like this, it does make some sense. I might even go a little bit more and say you're just going to fire these once per round, otherwise, you're going to start overheating. That would be my guess. Now, as we're getting down to this, we have the hand to hand combat punches. It's going to be 6D with the PPC cannons. Body block is going to be a 4D. A stomp is a 4D. Um, Effective against targets 12 feet tall or less. Note the Excaliber cannot jump, kick, leap, or climb, and cannot pick up and or carry objects unless they are huge and can be balanced on the ends of these PPC poles, really, arms. Maximum carry weight is going to be about 8 tons. Now, getting this a little bit more into Star Wars, or if you wanted to do this for some reason that you wouldn't want to do Battletech, which doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're trying to put them into Battletech into Star Wars, I could see that because the characters run a little bit better. Okay, and I'll grant all of that. Most people just play Battletech as Battletech. Mech Warrior always had problems because everyone wants to get back into the mechs. I understand that. So, what I'm going to say is my idea here, and I'm throwing this out here as just an idea to give everyone or anyone that cares. I like how things had kind of ended at the last series. It was a 9 book series um, for Star Wars before Disney had taken it over. Okay. Um, I would go in this direction for all of this. And I'm going to borrow a little bit from the clans because it makes a little bit of sense here, and follow me on this. Now, Mandalore had been kind of destroyed here during the Clone Wars. Now, what happens, and even before the Clone Wars, where there was a separation between how the Mandalorians were? What happens if you take the clan idea? So you have a group of the Mandalorians, and they go off and they establish their own set of worlds, and they form it much like the clans. Now, I don't care if you want to have 10 clans, 5 clans, however you want, but they develop the destroids, the battle mechs, whatever. Okay, they come in now. This is after the Jedi have kind of left the Republic, the New Republic. They're off on their own. I cannot remember for the life of me what planet they went on. I know it says in the book. I just always keep forgetting, but they did leave. Um, the New Republic and the Galactic Empire are more or less at friendly odds with each other. They're working together. Yes, there's some tension here and there, but for the most part, they're working together. Now, here's the other fun part. At the end of that series, there is a new race of Sith that has now been brought out to the galaxy. Now, the Jedi are going to have to try and fight off the Sith. The Sith have free reign to roam. Not very many people know who they are. There's so many of them that have been hidden. They were on a planet hidden away, had no way of getting off the planet. Now that they are out and about in the galaxy, their planet's been more or less destroyed. I like that idea. Now that opens so many different things. Um, you could be anywhere. Now the Mandalorians come in to kind of reestablish themselves. Okay, maybe these Mandalorians have figured out how to take care of whatever it was that had poison. I know they've kind of gone through some of that stuff, but they're here. They're back. The Mandalorian show itself has shown them going back to Mandalore or whatever. What happens when these clansmen, men and women, come back with these machines and now want to take over Mandalore as its prize? And then they want to have their influence. They're not going to take anything from anybody else ever again. They want their home world as well as having their own set of worlds or whatever. And it just kind of goes from there. I could see them almost taking over Mandalore fairly quickly. Mandalorians in their history have been known to ride kind of mecha beasts and all that stuff. Before that, they actually had live beasts they used to tame and take over. So this would fit very well for them. So that's my thought to thrust it out there. And at that point, the galaxy is wide open. Yes, Luke is still there, but he's an old man. Han is still there. He's an old man. Leia's still around. Um, Lando is still out there. Unfortunately, Chewbacca's gone by this point. But there is it's almost like a nice open canvas for anyone to paint whatever kind of adventures you want in the universe. Um, and you could have a coalition that goes back and forth between, you could have some TIE fighters from the Imperial side and um, whatever the X Wings or E Wings or whatever from the New Republic side, seeing that they're working hand in hand trying to better the galaxy. They have their own laws, there's tension there. The New Republic's a little looser on the laws. The Empire is a little stricter on their laws, and people have figured out they want to live in one or the other, and they're free to come and go. It's a nice, fluffier empire in that regard, and the galaxy's kind of doing okay. But now with this new chaos, with the Sith coming in, say the Mandalorians come in, and the Mandalorians come into the Republic, as well as maybe the Empire, but I would see them being a little bit more distrustful of the Empire after a while, or until after a while, maybe. Maybe they join the New Republic because the New Republic would be willing to work with them. The Empire, they're going to have a little bit more disdain towards them, but it is that possibility. So that's my idea to throw out there. Do with it as you will. It is, an interesting concept. And still bringing in some of the Battletech kind of stuff here. So with that, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for visiting. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next video.